In the news this week, bankruptcy on the rise with young people deemed as most vulnerable.
A step forward for medically retired police officers with ex-gratia payment scheme introduced.
WA parents rallied at Lansdale farming school standing against education funding cuts.
And experts call for more certainty in Australia's renewable energy plan.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Leung and Danielle Staniskov.
Good evening. Experts are warning of the rise of bankruptcy among young people as new statistics reveal high bankruptcy rates in Western Australia. As Nelson Liu reports, young people and growing families are among the hardest hit, with many youths unprotecting themselves against spending pressures.
Australians seem to be buckling under their spending power, with more people succumbing to bankruptcy across Australia. Statistics from Data Business Ilion show a 4% increase, or 32,000 people in personal bankruptcy in the country. But it's WA that's topping the nation with an 11.7% rise. Baldive is the most bankrupt suburb in the country at 105 people. Experts say young people and growing families have been pushed to the wall with increased day-to-day spending, linking it to high borrowing for home loans, credit card spending and low wage growth.
When you put into perspective of what people are doing these days, people are borrowing a lot more in terms of their home loans. They're spending a lot more in terms of their credit cards.
They say it's important for young people to boost their savings as a safety net and borrow less, but they advise young people to adjust their spending habits as well.
Think about your safety net, building up that buffer so that when things do go haywire, at least you've got something to call upon.
Nelson Liu, WAMN News.
Following the Police Minister's announcement to introduce an ex-gratia payment scheme for medically retired police officers, a rally was held in Perth with ex-officers conveyed their dismay that it didn't happen sooner. They say young people will be deterred to join the police force if the issue remains unsolved. Taylor Hannah reports.
Despite the Police Minister announcing an ex-gratia payment scheme for medically retired officers, demonstrators said it's too little, too late. Current, former and medically retired officers feel they have been abandoned and will be putting pressure on the government to provide appropriate compensation for their services.
We can't afford to let this just die down. This time we are here to stay. We will not go away until it's...
It will be a payment. It's not a full compensation payment that we're looking at, but it's certainly an acknowledgement.
Opposition leader Mike Nahan apologised for his government's lack of action and insisted his confidence in Ms Roberts to incite change.
I will work with her to address this issue. It's beyond politics.
David Bentley from the Medically Retired WA Police Officers Association said if this contentious issue is not resolved, it will deter young people from joining the force.
I think that there will be a lot of people who will give it second thoughts. Everybody in Australia has the right to workers' compensation and the belief that they will be taken care of if they are injured at work. Police officers should not be any different.
If everyone knew what could happen to their families, a lot of people would not want their children going in the police force.
The redress payment is expected to be announced by the end of the year, with a workers' compensation scheme on the way for next year. Taylor Hannah, WAMN News.
Protests against education funding cuts went ahead at Lansdale Farming School, with parents demanding the McGowan government to reverse the decision. They argued the farm school was established for special needs education and feared the cuts will force the school to close. A petition with more than 2,500 signatures were gathered, hoping to reverse the overall $64 million education funding cuts.
It was developed over 30 years ago with special needs students particularly at mind. It's developed with paddock to plate for regular school students. I actually came here when I was 6 years old myself with my local primary school. So yeah, it's not something that really should be put to private tender. These places are not broken, they shouldn't be fixed.
Federal Energy Minister Josh Frydenberg has recently hit out at Bill Shorten's fully costed plan for a transition to renewable energy in Australia. However, the coalition has not released any economic modelling report in about how the National Energy Guarantee is actually going to work. Experts says there's too much uncertainty on energy policies and there are needs to naturally shift to renewable energies like other nations are doing.
Malcolm Turnbull is convincing his backbenchers, his Conservative backbenchers, that this is not a political issue, so to speak. It's actually an issue about technology and economics.
Coles has yet again faltered amidst complaints from customers, revealing they'll be handing out reusable plastic bags for free instead of charging 50 cents per bag. The free plastic bag period will now end on August 29th after customers complained about paying for bags. Coles Chief Executive John Durkin advised all Coles supermarkets that free bags will be available until later this month.
Current Zimbabwe leader Emmerson Mnangagwa has won the general election following the ousting of Robert Mugabe. Mr Mnangagwa has won just more than 50% of the votes. However, the numbers have been rejected by the opposition. It's expected the election results will divide the country even further, with several people dying following riots at the capital city Harare. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has returned to office after a 6-week maternity leave. On a Facebook post, the female leader described her family as doing really well and says life is obviously going to be a little bit different. Mrs Ardern returned to her leadership role after Deputy Prime Minister Winston Peters went to Singapore to attend the ASEAN Summit.
And finally this week, a blue whale skeleton more than a century old will take centre stage of WA's new museum, being reconstructed as a centrepiece exhibition. The skeleton will be rebuilt for the 3rd time since becoming a feature of the museum after being found in 1898. This year is its 120th anniversary, and to celebrate, the museum is giving Western Australians a chance to name the skeleton through its website.
Well, you know, the public are always wonderful and with their quirks. I'm sure it'll be there, but I'm sorry to disappoint you. But Whaley McWhaleface will not be the name of the blue whale skeleton.
And that's our weekly news and current affairs. For all the latest happenings, you can visit our website and Facebook page.
From Daniel, myself and the rest of the team until 8 o'clock next Sunday, a very good evening to you.
Good night.